What's up? It's been a while. Welcome back to the channel. So in this video, I kind of wanted to explain why I missed the Atlas Nationals. Now, if you guys watch my previous videos, I was trying to promote this event and tell everybody, you know, how great it's going to be and try and get more people to show up. And I was planning on going, especially, you know, Eric was nice enough to put my Trailblazer on the flyer next to Calvin Nelson's vehicle, and I was super excited to go. Well, unfortunately, a lot of things happened in the weeks leading up to the event, and they prevented me from going. Number one was the 6L80 swap was not going as planned. Kind of ran into an issue with the input shaft swap. I'll get into that later. And the second issue, which is the bigger one, is I kept having an intermittent fuel issue. So the vehicle would not want to start. I went through a bunch of troubleshooting, pulled the tank, pulled the pump. The pump bench tested fine. I kept trying to do things. Finally, I got to a point where I realized the pump is fine, but something along the line is losing connection. And let me show you what I found. So here is a new Trailblazer fuel pump assembly. I've already swapped my 380 liter per hour pump into here, and I pretty much disassembled the existing one and put together this new one, and I want to show you what went wrong. So you have this bulkhead fitting here, which allows the connection to get through the fuel hat. On the bottom side, you have two connectors. One of these connectors, the blue and black wire, are for the sending unit right here. They go to the sending unit, they tell you where your tank is at in terms of full or empty. And the other wires, the red and the black, that connector goes to your fuel pump. Well, naturally, this fuel pump draws more amperage, and you have to splice these in to the other connector. That being said, it took me a while to figure it out, but here's the bulkhead fitting, and this is this side here that the harness side plugs into from the truck, and then here's the bottom side, which is where the fuel pump and the sending unit plug into. Well, here is the fuel pump connector. And it may be hard to tell, but this end is melted. And this, you can kind of see the discoloration in the plastic. But I assume, my theory is that this pump is drawing so much more amperage that this just got hot and it melted the plastic around it, which essentially broke the connection from the harness to the fuel pump. So every time it was telling the fuel pump to come on, it wouldn't. And I got left stranded at a restaurant with my buddy Scott. And then the next day it started after I got it towed home. Surprise. So I thought it was fine. Well, then I went to go start it so I could move it out to go to the TRC event, and it wouldn't start. And it was a shame because that day I was planning on putting my electric fan in, which this video is coming soon. But I couldn't read the computer to do certain things. I couldn't put the tune in the computer for the fan, so I didn't even want to start this yet. I went through a bunch of issues with this. So essentially, this in combination with the 6L80 swap not going as planned, that is what led me to not going. And in addition to that, I didn't have an open trailer to tow this with. So I no longer have my diesel dually. I have my Toyota Sequoia, which my Sequoia has a 10,000 pound towing capacity. It's not a big deal, but it can't pull my enclosed trailer. It's just not fun. It's not safe. Now, an open trailer, it can tow this just fine. It's not a big sail going down the road. Now, the next issue is I want to show you where I'm at on the 6L80 swap and why it was not going as planned. And to be honest, I really wanted to show up to the Atlas Nationals with the 6L80 swap complete. So here is an NP8 NP226 transfer case out of a Trailblazer. Now these are new process / new venture transfer cases. The 226 model was specific for the Trailblazer. Now that being said, this is a 32 spline input shaft. This is what you can upgrade the transfer cases that came behind the 5.3 4L60, and this is what comes in like the 4L80 version of a transfer case that bolts behind a 4L80. So this here is the back, if you can see it. This is the back of the input shaft. Well, you can kind of see here, there's a small gear here and then a straight cut gear above it. Well, this has a helical cut gear and there's no small gear behind this, right? There's the bearings on the inside here. There's the bearings on the inside there. Like they are just completely different. So this was not gonna work. This was step one. Now, step two is I went ahead and got a 6L80 transfer case out of a 2012 Silverado 1500. Now this transfer case, this bolts up to a 6L80 that came factory in a Silverado. So I would essentially just bolt this to the adapter. This adapter would go right to the transfer case or right to the transmission, done. Well, herein lies another problem. Now, although the 4x4 actuator here is the same 8-pin connector, there are major differences in these connectors. So this NQH transfer case, I think this is an NP, I don't know what this is. This is, so that's another problem. This isn't even a new process or new venture transfer case. This is a Borg-Warner transfer case. So that's a whole nother issue. But this transfer case only has one sensor on the output shaft for the rear tail housing, and it has no sensors for the front drive shaft. And I'm going to take you back over here to the factory Trailblazer transfer case. And you can see this is the front drive shaft. There is a sensor for front drive shaft speed, and there are two sensors here on the tail housing for the rear output shaft. One of these is rear output shaft speed, and then the other one is used for vehicle speed. So with all of these differences, that transfer case over there was not going to work. Fast forward to today. I don't have it with me on hand, but the NP246 transfer case from an 03 to 07, like 1500, whether it's an Avalanche, a Silverado, whatever, the NP246 that came behind a 4L60 was the beefier version of this transfer case. So they have the same two output shaft speed sensors on the rear tail housing, and then they have the same front drive shaft speed sensor for the front drive shaft. They even use the same 8-pin connector, and it actually has one spade missing here. That other one over there has all 8. But the other one, I think, uses the exact same 4x4 actuator. Now, the only difference is it's a little bit bigger of a transfer case, not by much. So the housing is slightly larger. But the biggest difference is you can upgrade the 27 spline input shaft from that transfer case to this 32 spline input shaft. That is the major difference. So that transfer case will work. Now, the downfall of that transfer case is they can be pricey. So I use car-part.com. Fortunately, my buddy Kyle has one. I'm gonna get it from him for very cheap, and we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna split the case, tap out the input shaft, hopefully tap in this input shaft, put it back together, and then boom, we are back in business. We'll be able to bolt this to the 6L80, which I have over here sitting on the ground, hasn't moved. We will use True Blue Motorsports adapter, figure out which adapter we need, whether it's this one or the custom one that he made. And then from there, once we get the length right, the only thing I need will be the prop shaft for the front drive shaft. Now, on this, you can see it's externally splined, which means the drive shaft for the front is an internal spline yoke. Well, on the 246, it's opposite. This is an internal spline front shaft, and the drive shaft is an external spline that slides into it. So that prop shaft is pretty easy to get. You could buy it on, you could Google it, find it on eBay and stuff like that. You can get a whole drive shaft for relatively cheap. The junkyard that I got that other transfer case from over there, that junkyard has a complete drive shaft for $100, right? Which is not much more than the prop shaft itself. So essentially you get the prop shaft, you get the U-joint adapter, which I believe True Blue Motorsports has, or he already knows like which U-joint you need to make that prop shaft work with the factory Trailblazer drive shaft, assuming it's the same length, and then back in business. So there's been a lot more involved in this 6L80 swap than meets the eye, which kind of was expected because although this isn't the first one done, it's only the second one done, and the first one done was a long time ago, and True Blue Motorsports had a transfer case already done, and I think he had like a custom input shaft made. So this is like another way to do it without having an input shaft made. You just have to locate or source the proper transfer case essentially. So all that being said, I'm still really excited about the 6L80 swap. I think it's still going to be worth it because to go from a really weak 4-speed to a pretty strong 6-speed and then change the starting line ratio and have it all controlled by the factory computer, I'm really, really excited for. So there's still videos to come on this, but just kind of wanted to give you guys an update on where I'm at on it and where I'm at on this Trailblazer. So that's it. I'm going to wrap this video up. Appreciate all the support. You know, I know a lot of people have been asking about the Trailblazer and, you know, where I'm at, you know, when are more videos coming out. The next video on this most likely is going to be the electric fan swap, and I'm really excited about that because I've not been to the track since we put the G80 rear end in, so the limited slip rear diff, or with the new tires. So we have Nitto NT55 R2s on all 4 corners, and now we have a proper 4-wheel drive setup. If you guys know about the Trailblazer, the front wheel drive is kind of like I think the front diff is essentially open, so you're not really having power put down on all 4 wheels. It's gonna kind of vary between the front 2 wheels. But that being said, we still have a all-wheel drive vehicle now, and I'm excited to take it to the track, brake boost it with a new rear end, get a good burnout, and see if we can't drop our times by having the power put down to both rear wheels instead of one. So that's it. Again, appreciate the support. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.